Chapter 318, Yearning for Victory, just dropped. I'm not even gonna waste any time, we're just gonna get straight into it.
Blue Lock Japan is so strong! They're overwhelming Nigeria in both offense and defense. The first half ends at 2-0.
Alright, nice save, Gangamaru-san. So far, so good. Nice game, nice game.
Corona! Get this fuck off my screen! Yeah, for those of you new here, Corona might actually be like the worst character to exist in all of fiction. And I'm not joking, I'm being so for real. Are you? Nico, you're doing great, but you went out a bit too far. Be more mindful of the defensive line in the second half.
Sure, but I'll go all out with my ball control. Likewise, I am ready for one-on-one battles.
Well, we already got another point. Princess and Hiyori, you're too stuck on those cross passes. Try for your own goals.
Shut up, Karasu. Just watch the second half. For real. You haven't shot either, Karasu. Nobody's boasting. They're all just debating about what's next. These boys are growing at an incredible rate. Things are looking good for this first match. We can win this.
At this rate, there's no point in just winning. We won't grow just by doing what we're good at. Let's try something new for the second half. Huh? Well, alright.
Like what?
We practiced it a bit, like having nobody in front and shooting from the second or third rows. If it works, we'll have more attack variations. It would definitely be interesting to try it, but it's risky too. I think shutting them out and claiming a solid victory would be its own experience. Then let's do both. We'll try something new as we make sure to get 3 points. Well said, egotist. It's easier said than done, Isagi-kun. But if we're using experimental attacks, then we'll need to alter our defenses accordingly. Right, so let's adjust that too. I'll suggest it to Ego-san. You really think we can do it that suddenly? I'm in. Just winning doesn't feel good, so we'll destroy them in a new way. And I still haven't scored yet. Don't think I'll be satisfied by just rolling over and doing tricks for you. Right. Yeah, you egotist aces. That's good. Protecting our lead with the balanced approach would betray our philosophy. All of you keep aiming for goals and use every last second for your own evolution. That is Blue Lock. Here's the plan for the second half. And I got so caught up in the story itself that I didn't even realize Audrey was talking about winning the game, and Isagi just interrupts her. It's like, nah, you know what? Fuck that. We don't need to win. Or at least he doesn't want to win the way they're doing it right now. Which this panel in particular kind of scares me in a way of foreshadowing, because Audrey's like so confident about their current position, and then Isagi comes in here with something that directly threatens that. And it makes me wonder, is Japan really going to be able to win this game? Because I feel like when something is framed like this, it's usually just not a good sign. And I want to believe in Blue Lock's abilities and their new strategy, whatever it is, but I don't know. I'm just not getting a good vibe from any of this. And also Rin posted up like this, I'm not gonna hold you, like, yo, Rin might be kind of a cutie. I don't know what you want me to say. Hey, not too much. But now we're in the Nigerian team's locker room, and they are all going through it, bro. We got Kuso, he's looking up to the sky. He's wondering if there's even a god right now. Obaboda, he's got his eyes closed. I know he's not thinking of shit right now. We got this goalie wondering why he's even on this fucking team. And we got Bello, who is frustrated as hell. It's no use. We can't win.
At this rate, we're gonna lose.
What should we do in the second half? Tell us your thoughts, coach. Blue Lock isn't messing around. The talent to control the game's flow and score goals. That Yoichi Isagi is something else. And we got the Nigerian team's head coach Gambari advising them. Our usual methods aren't effective. Onazi isn't effective. This hasn't happened before. It's really bad. And now that Onazi's freaking out, everyone else is kind of freaking out even more now. This is the world. Blue Lock is so damn cool. And now they're more confused. There are still amazing guys ahead of us here. Yoichi Isagi is here. And Kuso doesn't understand. Onazi, you... Hey coach, you guys, what do you think makes Japan so strong? Huh? Well, they have lots of attack patterns.
All 11 are trying for goals.
Exactly! They're all living for their own goals. But before we could see Onazi say anything else, we cut back to Ego. Why do people yearn to win? Have you thought about that? Huh? Because it feels good? Then why does it feel good? Because it's proof. Proof that you're superior to others? Right. That's an instinct that's been carved into your genes. Individuals can only survive by excelling above others. The stronger individual has a higher chance of producing offspring, drawing out that survival instinct. And creating the world's strongest individual is what Blue Lock is for. I want to beat Blue Lock, so why don't we try fighting like them?
You mean trying to score our own goals?
But we're not as skilled as you, Onazi. Who cares? If you guys just keep passing it to me, we're gonna lose anyways. So let's give it a shot. Right, coach? If you say so, Onazi. It'll be a challenge to help us win. And Kuso, he is awestruck. And I don't even blame him, because these past like fucking 5 chapters, we've been looking at Kuso. He's thinking this is the end of his life. Like after this match, he's gonna like pick up the rope and he's just gonna get it over with. But now this is like the first time he's heard anything that's given him even the slightest bit of hope. However,
If all humans were to live solely by their yearning to win and prove their superiority, it would create endless strife, discrimination, and war. So to avoid that, humans create social systems of rules and laws, and have evolved to treat all beings as fairly as possible. But to put it another way, a tepid world in which people live without yearning for victory is what people call peace.
And you know, I kind of get this philosophy. I really do understand. I have a lot more thoughts on it for the post-chapter discussion, which you should stick around for. I kind of agree with this, but at the same time, I don't know. I gotta hear more.
And that's why I keep appealing to your instinctual yearning for victory, so the true ego within each of you won't be snuffed out by this tepid world. And that includes me. Blue Lock is an experimental device for lifting its subjects out of their peaceful stupor.
Let's go, Nigeria!
And drawing their instincts and yearnings out into the light. Now yearn for victory, my lumps of talent, and I'll grant you a new formula.
I've even mentioned that this double spread looks sick. Like, it looks really cool. The way it's like handled is just awesome. Because we have the shot from the Nigerian team, we get this bigger middle shot of Isagi and the rest of Blue Lock walking out, and then we get a nice little shot on the left of the ball. Like, it's just so like well structured. I love it a lot. But then we end the chapter with the final page.
Do you know why soccer has this much power? To entrance humanity.
And as Isagi kicks off the ball, Ego sits down as we begin the second half of the match. And that's chapter 318, Yearning for Victory. And my god, what an interesting chapter. Very text heavy because this is another chapter of Ego laying out a philosophy, which I love. I love when this series does stuff like this. This is like one of my favorite chapters in a while, so I'm totally down for all this reading. But I immediately want to jump into that one thing that I said I was going to talk to in the post-chapter discussion. How we live in a tepid world in which people live without yearning for victory, and that is what people call peace. And I do agree with that to an extent, because if it weren't true, the majority of people just wouldn't exist the way they do. Having a midlife crisis, having a fucking like high school life crisis is basically an essential part of being a human being at this point. You gotta think like, what the fuck do I even want to do with my life? Like, what do I exist for? What's my purpose? That is something everyone thinks about at one point or another. And it's because we live in a world that has given us so much of everything, so many choices, so many things to do, that we don't really strive for victory in the sense of, oh, I gotta be on top of this, because we don't have to really be on top of anything. Like, yeah, we have grades, yeah, we have work, but these are all things that are almost entirely assured to us. People need something that they can individually look at and say, I want to strive for this, I want to become better at this, I want to be the best at this. People need stuff like that to keep them going. So in that sense, I do understand Ego, and I completely agree with what he's saying here, but I do think it's somewhat problematic to frame it this way, because although he has clarified that without this type of structure, we would always have discrimination and war, I do feel like it is a bit more nuanced than just these two things. And perhaps Ego will expand upon that, which I kind of hope he does. Although, like, this isn't like a bad way to put it, I just feel like it could use like a tiny bit more of a push to really like solidify the logistics of it. But hey, I'm not complaining. I really like how this was said. I'm really glad that it's even mentioned to begin with. I think it's a really cool idea to bring up, especially in this match, because it is very clearly applicable. Obviously, the concept of Blue Lock has been all about this, but the Nigerian team, in a way, they're kind of complicit in their own sense of peace because they've always had Onazi to rely on. So none of the other players, as Bello says, really strive for their own goals because they just know they're not as good as Onazi. But now I'm really glad that Onazi is breaking it up for them and is telling them to go all in and make their own goals. So now I really do feel like the Nigerian team is going to make a bit of a comeback here. I don't know if they'll tie the game, but I feel like they'll get at least one goal. And the biggest reason why I feel so assured that the Nigerian team is going to do well now is because of this one panel here. Oh my god, I really cannot like state enough how much I think this is like a bad omen for Team Blue Lock, because it is such a popular trope, and not just anime, like in anything really, to have a character monologuing to themselves or in their head about how things are going so well, and they say something so definitive only for someone else to immediately enter the frame and juxtapose it instantly. Now, was this just smart framing? Sure, I can totally understand that, but why would Kanishiro frame it this way unless Isagi is directly opposing this train of thought right here? Now, obviously, I'm not saying Isagi wants to lose on purpose, because the whole point is that he's trying to talk about winning in a way that makes him stronger. But we all know when experimentation enters the field, that's when things can kind of get tricky. And I'm just hoping that Blue Lock doesn't lose too much of a grip on this game and they're still able to pull it together. And we even got my boy Rin over here finally saying anything after so long. I feel like you've been fucking useless in this game. You haven't been doing shit. But he actually agrees with Isagi for once, which, you know, I like to see it, the camaraderie. But I'm not sure if Rin agreeing with Isagi is necessarily a good thing here, but I hope it is. I really do hope it is. Aiku's the only one that had reservations about this, and he's kind of like the level-headed one here, so I think that speaks volumes on how this plan could go terribly wrong. But Ego, once again, he reinforces that, yeah, this is kind of what Blue Lock is all about. And it makes me wonder, is Ego really just going to be this stubborn on keeping Blue Lock all about this one thing? Or is he willing to bend it a bit in order for true victory? It makes me curious. Maybe this is, in his head, the route for true victory, but I'm just thinking in general now, we haven't really seen Ego stray away from his own philosophies in terms of potentially stronger ones. Maybe because this whole time, he's always been the person with the strongest philosophies, but I think if this match goes against Blue Lock's favor for a decent portion of it, then there might be some time to have a confrontation with either himself or Honorary or Team Blue Lock too, where he sort of has to admit that maybe his way of going about things wasn't completely right this time. But I don't know, it's gonna be interesting to see how things play out here and how each character reflects on that. I can't really say for sure how it'll end up going. And as for Team Nigeria, like I said, with Onazi bossing the fuck up and their coach cheering him on, which, you know, W coach by the way, this guy looks awesome. I'm sure they're definitely gonna make some good moves now. This was a very text heavy chapter, pretty much no action whatsoever, and I'm glad that we didn't get any because I really wanted a chapter like this. But that'll probably do it for this week. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to like, comment, and subscribe because it means the world to me, especially since most of you are it, and remember to hype the video. But until next time, I'll see ya. Peace.